Okay. I'll go ahead and pull up the agenda on my screen. So you have 3 referrals, and then that scenic view shed overlay language.
So go ahead and start with the referrals.
Okay, thanks, Kim, for putting all the information, all the details on the agenda.
No problem.
All right, so we'll just go in order. And I did pull up the map. Oops. Okay, so the first one is 5039 Seneca Point Road, which is this one right here. Sorry. There's actually 2 right next to each other that you're reviewing, both of them. So if you all know where you're at, this is Barnes Road, goes down to County Road 16 by Ononda Park. So just to kind of orient yourself. And the first one is this one right here. It's currently vacant, and they are proposing to put in driveway, house, well, and septic. And
so what is it that is of normal?
so the reason
So-
you guys, is this the right one? Yeah. The reason it was referred to you, oops, I'm sorry, this is 5015, is because it's in the, sorry, I can't talk and do this at the same time. It's in an ag district.
Hmm.
You
But
guys
they
are
are not
blocking.
asking for any permission of modifying what it's already.
No, not this one. Let's see, that one. Oh, that is a terrible site plan. Let's see if there's anything better. That's better. That's still pretty bad. Can you guys make that out?
Can make
Do
the
I need to-
house, I don't know what the lines behind it unless it's septic.
Let's see if we can get a better view if I zoom in.
There's
Oh.
a pool, looks like.
So here's Seneca Point Road. That's the septic system. Here's the house. And the driveway right here out to Seneca Point Road.
Team is trying but cannot connect, so just keep going and I'll send him there.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, it's just vacant land. They want to put in a house and all the accessories that go with the house. Let me pull up my sheets. I'm sorry, I had this pulled up. I must have lost it. I made those comment sheets for you guys. I must have accidentally closed it. Sorry. There we go. So yeah, site plan approval for single family home, septic and well. And it's in an ag district and it's currently farmed. I don't have information about what's being done, but I mean, looking at the map, That's the parcel right there. So I don't know what they're doing on
Here,
it.
so
Hay
if they
or,
are not farming it, they might.
I mean, it doesn't really look like the way they usually do, but anyway, there you have it. There is a stream along the northern edge of it. And it did not, and I don't know why, but it did not get a rating from the ag plan. It did get a rating from the open space plan, but because it's not very large, the points were not very high, even though there's a stream, a gully on the northern side. It's not in the greenway, it's not in the farmland protection area, but it is in the forest protection area, and it does drain to Canandaigua Lake. Those are your soils.
How big is a lot is it?
I think it's 13 acres. Yeah, just over 13 acres. They claim that it's farmed, and it looks like somebody might be doing something to the one south of them. And maybe the one north. It's also one of your referrals tonight for the same thing though. They're building a house on it, so.
On the one underneath.
This one, the one to the north is, you'll see it in a minute. They want to put a house on that one too. Not the same people, but it's just happening at the same time. I don't know. Actually, Kim, you guys probably reviewed these last week, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
Would you add anything that
Uh,
you think they ought to know?
I don't think we really had a lot of discussion on either one of them.
Yeah,
I'll know I'm doing the minutes this weekend, so I'll have more notes on that shortly.
do you
I'll
know
make-
anything about the farming, Kim? The ag data statement didn't really say anything.
What's the terrain look like?
Let's see.
So it's slope to the creek?
Yeah, there's a gully up there by the, excuse me. Oh,
Let's see. No, Gary wrote up one of them. I'm seeing if I find that real
Is
quick.
the farm to the south, that's the Wegmans farm, correct? No, sorry, to the east, straight
Yeah.
east. That's the farm, that's the.
yeah, sorry, I forgot about that.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's got a slope, a lot by the gully, but not a whole lot going on there. And yes, you're right. I just didn't think about it because there's such a big swath of trees. And the Wegmans do farm this over here.
Well, I mean, it's, if we stick to the rules that we're, and what we're trying to really defend, it is a loss of agricultural land. However, it is not in the overlay protection area, and they are not asking for changing what they can do without any permission, right?
Right.
It's single family home, which is within the definition of the land or whatever the right term is. So I guess I would say it constitutes a loss of agricultural land. However, they are within their
Oops.
the right of permission or whatever they.
Yeah, I would say it's not a real significant loss.
Yeah, RR3, it's a principally permitted use, so they're not asking for anything that they wouldn't be allowed to do already.
Hello,
Hey, Tim?
Hey, Tim, is that you?
it's me. I had to,
Alright.
I had to dial.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. That's great. Then, I don't know what to do to be able to sign in here. I'd really like to be able to go ahead and, see all the documents that you're gonna throw up onto the screen. Frustrating.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
Is that Tim?
Yes.
Yeah,
Hi, Tim.
If you're at a computer, Tim, you can bring up the documents through the board
yeah,
documents website that we share sometimes when we send that stuff out. That's where I am right now. I mean, I know it's not ideal, but
yeah, I've got that. Let's go ahead.
So I make the motion to say it's, I guess I'll amend the status and go with Bob's. It is not a significant loss of valuable agricultural land, and it is not within the agricultural overlay district.
Have a second from anybody? Or Fernando was at a second.
However you want to record it.
Okay. We'll vote on it. So all in favor that this does not cause a significant loss of farmland, say aye.
Hi.
All opposed? Okay,
Was that the first property?
it's this one right here, 5039 vacant land. They want to put in a house, driveway, well, and septic.
Gotcha, okay. Aye. Sorry.
So your second one is just to the north, 5015 Seneca Point Road, same story. They want to put in a house, driveway, well, and septic on this one as well.
Sarah, I just sent you the notes that Gary Kokesberger had wrote up on that one.
Okay, did he have some additional information that you think Ag Committee would want to know on that one?
There wasn't a lot, but I sent it to you if you wanted to look at that right now.
Sure. All right, before I do that, let me pull up the notes that I made for you guys. So this is really similar to the other one. It's in an ag district, so that's why it was referred to you. Sorry that my notes say it's unknown if the property was farmed. I didn't get a hold of the ag data statement until after I wrote this. They said that it was, although I don't know who and what they're doing on it. It did not get an ag rating. It did get an open space rating, sorry. And again, just like the one to the south, it rated low, probably because it's not very large. But again, there is a gully between the two parcels, which is noteworthy. And everything else is basically the same, not in the Paddleford Brook Greenway or the farmland protection area, but it is in the forest protection area and it does drain to the lake.
And it's a little smaller.
It is a little smaller, it's 10 acres. 10, yeah. 10.02 or something like that. Soils are similar. Slopes are similar.
I would say that the same comments of the other one. I know, or I would make a motion that it has the same.
I heard a second, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor that there's no significant impact on farmland, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay.
Okay. Now, pull up the final one.
Dugway Road.
6170 Dugway. This one, they're splitting the lot into 2 parcels. And they are requesting a variance because the frontage is a lot smaller than what they're supposed to have.
What is the address? 6170.
Yep, I'm gonna go pull it up. 60. So again, it's down in the southern corridor. It's further south than the other ones, I think. Oh, it looks like Tim's got it figured out.
I don't know what happened. I've been trying to do this for a long time now. All of a sudden I can get in.
Yay.
Hmm.
I did not mean to zoom out that far. Okay, so this one's down in the very southwestern corner of town. It's not vacant. There is a house on it. And I will bring up the map. So this is the parcel we're talking about.
They want to separate the northern part of the parcel.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up for you. I lost it. Here we go. Yeah, so they want to take this
Oh.
is going to be the small one. That's where the existing house is. And then separate the back, and it's going to be a flag lot. So this is a little tiny access to the larger section in the back. And I can pull up the application. Kim, do you remember if the application said what they were going to do with it?
No, I don't remember this one.
Sometimes they say what they're going to do. Sometimes they don't. Says they're going to leave it undeveloped.
For now,
Yeah.
There is always a reason to pay for
You
something,
think?
right? Whether it's sell, inheritance, or anything, but there has to be a reason.
Who is the owner of this?
It's an LLC.
Timber Wind. What is Timber Wind?
Don't know.
I'm gonna Google it.
Dugway Road.
Yeah, I don't know. We get that sometimes. A lot of people just create LLCs and put their property in it. You can see that a lot along the lake.
Yeah, the email was for a developer, I believe, so I think it's probably someone that owns land around,
Yeah.
develops it.
It says they're gonna keep it vacant and use it for hunting and farming, but for now, I suppose. That's what they're saying.
Well,
Oh,
I would say that
I'm gonna say the
division does not-
same as the other two, would be my opinion.
I will second that one. The division per se will not constitute a loss.
I should mention this one was a little bit different. It did say that it was farmed, again, didn't say who and what, but it is, it's not very far to the Hicks PDR. They're not next to it, but it did get some points on the ag rating because it's within a certain distance to the Hicks PDR, which is the grape farmer down. Let me see if I can grab it. Down here.
Yeah, but I don't think that that's changed much. The division per se does not constitute the loss.
Yeah, they're
Whatever
down.
they do with it later, that's a different thing.
That's where the grape farmer is. But anyway, for what it's worth.
I would second that motion.
Okay, all in favor of this does not cause a significant loss of farmland, say aye.
I
All opposed?
Aye.
So your guys' comments were kind of similar for all three of these. Is that a fair takeaway?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Looks like there was a flag lot right to the north.
Yeah, there's a couple. Actually, there's three. That one, and that one.
Mhm.
Okay. What do you want to do next?
Well, the only reason I wanted to look at the scenic view overlay was just because it was an overlay. And I thought maybe we could learn something from it or get some ideas from it.
I like the verbiage of whatever is stricter will apply. In a couple of places where it said if it goes against current law or current code or anything else, whichever is stricter will apply. But that's the one part that I got out of it. I thought it was easy to read.
Yeah, it was short and easy to read. I don't think most stuff doesn't apply necessarily to what we're looking at, but anybody else have any comments?
Yeah, Bob, what was your interest in it? I mean,
Just the
besides-
fact that it was an overlay district. With some additional rules for development. So I was just wondering, I just wanted everybody to look at it, see if we could learn anything from it for what we've been talking about.
it seems really wide open, though, the way it's written. That
Yeah, I didn't think it was too restrictive, really. Maybe I didn't understand it well enough. I don't know. Do you have anything to fill us in on this, Sarah, or how any of it could apply to what we've been talking about?
I wasn't very involved when this one went into play, so I have to say I'm not very familiar with it, and I don't completely understand it. But Kim, I know you guys talked about it in the ECB. I do have the map that it references to. If that's helpful, I could
Well,
bring that up.
actually, I was there for all the discussion in the ordinance.
Oh, that's
And-
right. That's right. Not ECB for ordinance. Sorry.
No, that's okay. And it's really centered around keeping development to single family homes. So that's how they were thinking that they would restrict some of the larger developments, because that seemed to be most at issue. And this was really kind of like a starting point. It's not intended to be complete. They'll come back and revise it. That's what Jared has said too, that this is really a starting point to give them something to work from. And then the intention is to come back and add more to it.
Okay.
so
Like what?
you know,
So
go ahead. I'll
seeing as that, they're trying to restrict it to single family homes to reduce the heavier development pressure. Do you recall when you were in the meetings, Kim, was there much disagreement or pushback from people at all about this, or how did, because the first time we mentioned the ag overlay district, there was quite a bit of pushback.
There was different opinions, obviously, but I kind of think it was one of the strongest voices that helped kind of shape it. So I think some things were kind of left out, like people talked about vegetation and trees and stuff like that, which would be part of protecting the view, but that was all left out. So it really kind of focused right around keeping the lot size to be a certain thing and having single family homes there.
Was relatively
We
good.
talked about establishing building within the ag district. We talked about this, I think, last time that we met. We thought it would be better to go ahead and have a greater population density within a smaller footprint, because you just gobble up ag land when you put in 1 acre lots.
Yeah, I think for what we're talking about, that's the difference here. This, you're trying to keep it more open, I think, for view. Where for ag land, if we can put a whole bunch of houses in one spot, that's better than a bunch of houses on.
Yeah,
Definitely have conflicting views on this one, or ideas of this. They don't, our overlay and their overlay is not in the same place, so that makes it a little bit nicer, but they definitely want something completely different than what we want.
Yep.
Yeah,
and this is where it applies, right, Kim?
correct. That is exactly where it applies.
The purple.
Mhm. And the way it's written, it doesn't allow conservation subdivisions. So those would be not appropriate in the purple.
Yeah, they're trying to avoid like these neighborhoods
Yeah,
that you can see when you're over here or anywhere on the lake, just a big hillside full of houses.
That's what we want, because that's not farming area.
Yeah,
I'm surprised they didn't talk about trees more, because that does more to hide a house than a lot of other things.
Yeah.
There were comments, Jared had mentioned that people had passed to him, so he encouraged the ECB to push for changes to this.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, but
Yeah,
The people building the houses is what they want to take out so they can see the lake.
So the date on this document is June 2018. What is the document date that we looked at for the overlay? When was that concluded in writing? 20.
this is the
Yeah,
one that's
oh,
adopted
okay.
on the website.
Okay, so that's brand new, almost.
Yeah, I think it was last fall or late summer.
Okay. So
This
why
is-
why was the detail or the map a date in 2018 and this is in 2020?
Oh, I'm sorry. Because the map is from the open space master plan, which was adopted in 2018, but they based the scenic viewshed overlay law on this area.
Okay, thank you.
This is the overlay, the purple area is the overlay where it applies. It does not apply in the areas that are not purple. Sorry. Yeah, the map's been around for a while, but the law is new.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's all right.
Don't be sorry.
Well, I just forget that what I think in my head isn't always audible.
Well, we're not the experts. We don't do this on a full-time basis.
Oh gosh, I'm not the expert either. Now Kim's the expert because she's on the ECB.
all right, well, we don't have to spend too much time on that because I just wanted to see if we got some ideas from it, but we're still back to not knowing exactly what we want to do with our plan or if that's even the right type of plan.
Probably not. I mean, their goal is very different than what our goal is, as far as conservation of views. You want big lots, and as far as conservation of farmland, we prefer no building whatsoever, but if you have to have building, it's better to have a higher population density in a smaller footprint.
Right,
Well,
like a
yeah.
conservation subdivision would actually be probably preferable, especially if they can leave a farm field.
And
I
Oh,
actually,
so does that, so that works into the TDRs also, or is that kind of totally separate? I still get confused on these things.
This one that we're looking at?
No, we can forget about this now.
Oh, okay.
The
overlay.
well, conservation subdivisions and I think that
Oh.
the TDR could be that seems to, we keep coming back to that, that could be a useful tool in what we're trying to achieve.
I agree, but they are separate. So a conservation subdivision is, we have language for that so that if a developer wants to develop a large chunk of land, they want to develop it more densely than the zoning allows, they can apply to do a conservation subdivision. And what it would do is they then have to meet requirements of our conservation subdivision law, which will force them to take into account the land cover that's there, not just what types, but certain types get more value based on our natural resources inventory. So if there's a big patch of forest or creeks or wetlands, I mean, they'd have to look at that anyway, but now with a conservation subdivision, they would have to preserve a certain percentage of those land cover types that are considered valuable based on our natural resources inventory. And then in return for preserving that or setting it aside, they are allowed a greater density, but it's concentrated. So the lots can be smaller, the houses can be closer together, much like the Pierce Brook subdivision that's going to go on the Miller property. That's a conservation subdivision, I think. And if you guys remember, we looked at that last month, that all the houses are concentrated right along the road. And then there's two pretty big chunks of undeveloped land that are going to be left on both sides of it. Now with that one, they didn't preserve any of your farm field for farming, but they're putting in a path. But that's what a conservation subdivision is. It can be done lots of different ways, but we did just redo the conservation subdivision language for the town last year to make it a little bit, I don't know if I would say more stringent, but it was rewritten so that it'll do a better job of protecting what we want to be protected, be it, forest or farmland or grassland, what have you. Because before, what was written, there weren't as many rules about how and what they preserved and where. And now it's just a bit more clear. And they have to actually do some calculations. But yeah, sorry, Bob, conservation subdivision doesn't have anything to do with TDR. It's just a different way that a developer can develop a larger parcel and put more houses on it.
I do think that the overlay is a good way to go. Is one of the things that we should pursue, even though the overlay that we read is a completely opposite than what we're trying to achieve, is still a good example because it's an overlay and we should be pursuing that. I think that in part of that, we should explain what we would like to see on a conservation or in one of these deals where we want more concentrated housing in one place to have open space for farming and and define how we want it to look, and if they are going to break something for houses, what is the minimum size lot that we want left for farming to allow the machinery to work efficiently in there, and or whether do we want certain length, or do we want, instead of saying a minimum of 15 acres, do we want to say we want what the land that is left for agriculture to be long, but not less than certain diameter in width so that the machine can be more efficient. And those are the type of things that we should think of when the town is making the deal for making these conservation easements. What should that deal look like? I think that's how we should focus on to make sure that we have an efficient farming parcel left behind when they make a concentrated division.
That's a good point, Fernando. I agree
Yeah,
with
that
that.
that is a good point. So maybe guidelines for field access,
Yeah,
even field shape, like a
That's a good idea.
square field or
and we can try to include in there something about the slopes. I mean, if the parcel that they're dividing has areas with bigger slope than others, it's easier to build houses in the slope than to farm slopes sometimes. So can we add all of that lingo to make sure that we have great agricultural land left?
that's a good idea.
Yeah, you guys could draft up some guidelines that could be shared, like if someone's going to do a conservation subdivision and it happens to have active farmland on it, that they would automatically be given a copy of guidelines.
Right now, I feel that in a lot of these referral reviews, we're at the end of the process. And because of that, a lot of decisions have been made already that can't be undone. So our referrals don't have as much weight or value than if, what Fernando is saying is adopted and is put in place as early in the process as possible.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's true for the planning board too. When people come into the town with an application, they've already decided what they want to do. They're just coming to ask if they can do it. But yeah, what you guys are talking about, some guidelines, if that was somehow attached to the conservation subdivision language, or again, like a trigger, like when they say, okay, we want to do conservation subdivision, if there's farmland present, they look at these guidelines too, then that would happen before they actually get to you.
And that could just be part of the conservation subdivision language.
would
We don't need to.
Yeah, I don't know how it works. So conservation subdivisions in our town code, if you wanted it to be a part of that, you'd have to, it would have to go through the ordinance committee again to amend the code again. But there's nothing that said you couldn't draft up some guidelines that would be in existence while you were working on the actual revision of the code.
So who can write ordinance? Are we eligible to write up a draft ordinance and submit it to the
Sure.
That's kind of the point of the overlay, right?
Yeah.
So instead of having to change the whole law, if we draft what the overlay should look like, and we include like the one that you guys sent as an example at the end, saying in any conflict, the stricter rule applies. Any conservation easement that is going to be done in the overlay agricultural area protection will have to go with our guidelines for what a conservation easement looks like.
A lot of the description for what you're talking about may very well already be in the ag plan.
That's what I was thinking. You
I
don't
don't
want to repeat yourself.
I don't remember anything in the ag plan that talks about guidelines for
No,
Yeah, I
field
don't
size.
think there's anything in there, but
Nothing of how a conservation easement should look like, or the type of land or space that should be left for efficient farming.
Yeah, I don't remember anything like that.
so we thinking, Fernando, what are your thoughts on actually including an acreage number, depending on, because that's really going to depend on that's going to be kind of hard to do.
Yeah, the acreage number will be, I don't want to say a minimum of 15 acres, because if they are dividing a 60 lot acre, I want more than 15 acres. But I think that we could consider either a minimum percent or minimum acreage, so that it's not a smaller than, but then really say, get into the part that is going to live for agriculture should, as you said, have easy access through the road, have slopes of no more than X, have continuous adjacent piece of land for machinery to go through efficiently. And we just gotta think about the things that will make it attractive for you to farmer versus not, right? I don't know if we can put in a minimum acreage or a minimum percent, because it will vary depending on the size lot that they're dividing. But whatever is that they're gonna left, we wanna make sure that is appealing to farm.
So
That's what I was thinking.
Sarah, how do they decide how much needs to be set aside in the conservation easement? Is it based on the,
There's a calculation, and it's, obviously it depends on the parcel. It's all set up in the language. I mean, we could pull it up if you want to look at it.
Probably should start there.
But
So
it-
Bob, what is the smallest farm lot that you would consider that you would be interested to farm? 10 acres?
you start to get under like 15 acres, it's kind of small.
Yeah.
Now, for the overlay protection that we're talking about, the lot has to be bigger than 50 acres, correct? For the overlay to apply in the way that it is
No.
written right now?
7, right?
No, right, because Doug had said use 7 because that's one of the thresholds that Ag and Markets uses. And for the like PDR programs and stuff, they don't have a minimum anymore.
If we use 7, it's hard to say minimum of 15 or. But I do agree with Bob. I don't think that we should have anything in there that is less than that or is just not attractive. So what the wording is.
Oh, I mean, I don't know why we have to use the same threshold. I mean, 7 acres is pretty small and that's not, there's not a,
Right.
you know. So maybe we do want to just focus it on some of the larger parcels because those are what are most at risk of large development.
I did bring up the conservation subdivision language in the town code. I don't know, I'll share my screen so you can look at it, but it's pretty involved.
Maybe we should just read it in between the meetings.
Yeah, maybe if you, could you send it just like you did the last?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we can plan, I feel like we're actually starting to get some ideas, I think now, and we can, if we keep reading this between meetings, we might start to get somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I
Would,
think you guys are
do you
on the
think,
right track.
maybe Doug might be able to join us like next time to talk over what we're thinking? See what his
Yeah.
thoughts are?
Yeah, it will be interesting to know from his part, how can we write it? Whether it's in a minimum acreage or a percent acreage so that it conserves the most amount of land without restricting it so much that is not passed by the ordinance committee. And we want to give enough flexibility that they agree to implement it, but not submit ourselves to lose too much land. So it'll be good ideas to have the wording right.
Yeah, and you got to think about too, what is this going to achieve? Because you can't make people farm. So if you have someone who owns land and they're going to build a bunch of houses on it and it's a developer and they're required to, like if there was farming on it before, maybe they're required to make sure that, like, what's the trigger, right? For the requirements, they're going to be required to make sure that it meets these guidelines, but then who's to say it's ever going to be farmed again? Like, would it actually do what you want it to do?
You're right. There is a very practical side to this, Sarah. Farmers will only travel so far from their,
Base.
location to
Mhm.
be able to go ahead and farm a particular piece of land.
Like, I
And-
could see that it would work, like if, say this parcel in question is currently being farmed and maybe it's leased and, they tell the person, well, we're going to develop it, but, you know, hey, we're gonna do it so that you can still farm it. I could see how that might work and they might still want to farm it, but if it was purchased by the developer with the purpose of developing it and it wasn't being farmed at the time,
No, I think, yeah, I think it would have to be something that was actively farmed. That would need to be some of the language in there, because otherwise you're just creating open space, and that's a whole different
If-
conversation.
yeah.
But if it wouldn't be terrible to have open space for the possibility of farming. What if the language reads that if it is currently farming, it should maintain within this lease, and if not, it should be available for rent for farming at a rate that is, I don't know, if we kind of, there is a fair market rental value of land that we can put in there, or a language that will maintain a favorable or a fair market rental value. And if no one wants it, it can stay open space, but if someone wants it, they have the first right to use that land.
It's where you kind of cross the line between, the town as a, public government and private owners with rights to be able to go ahead and, manage the land as they see fit, just from my perspective.
Yeah, I don't know how it would work. Usually when these conservation subdivisions are done, the open area is usually it's put in to a conservation easement, but oftentimes the HOA owns it.
And anytime this would happen, even if you made the access desirable and the field size or orientation of the field desirable, it's still going to become a lot less desirable to farm.
Yeah,
And the people living there aren't necessarily going to want you farming either.
well,
But if you're spreading manure or
Wow.
whatever.
Yeah, there'd be
Yeah.
one less place to spread manure, because you're not going to do it next to the housing development, probably.
Or spray insecticide or whatever.
Well, they're spraying it on their lawns, so it doesn't matter.
Good point.
let's hope not all of them. Yeah, I mean, I think you guys are talking through this. I think you're on the right track. It's not easy to figure out what the best way to do it.
I'm feeling a little more hopeful that this is a little more balanced or a little more in between. I don't think the original overlay where it was really, really restrictive, I think was just not going to go very far as being passed by the ordinance committee or anything.
I like the conversation you guys had 2 meetings ago, though, trying to figure out if there's a possible way to incorporate an incentive in here. And you talked about trying to figure out if you could make a match with a TDR program or something like that.
No,
So
the
that-
TDR is not really being used yet, correct? Here?
No, the town of Canandaigua does not have a TDR program. We have a report that was done by a consultant to show us what it might look like if we wanted to do one. But you guys remember, there were things in it that people didn't like and it never went anywhere. So we don't have one, but we have some ideas.
What people didn't like it?
There were a lot of things in it that, one of the questions was, so the TDR program was focused on uptown Canandaigua as the area where people could seek greater density or other allowances for construction in return for paying into a bank, the TDR bank. And those funds could be used in the farmland area in the town to, do like what we do with the PDR program, basically put a protection easement on the farmland. So it was a give and take, a sending area and a receiving area. One of the arguments was that in the uptown area was where we wanted to encourage people to go and develop already. And some people said, well, if we're going to make them pay to do what we want them to do anyway, is that a good idea? Also, the calculations, some people thought that the amount of money the developers would have to pay was too high. Some people just said it was just too complicated. There were several arguments, and now it would be a different conversation because now we have form-based code in Uptown that does allow for much greater density and greater heights of development, because of course that's where we wanted people to go anyway. So the existing TDR report wouldn't work the way it's written because it's changed. But the basic idea of a TDR program is still a neat idea, and there are places where they use it and it works. It's just, it would need a lot of tweaking now, I think. And
So the TDR, the money that goes into the fund, that's used when or how?
it would
How
be, in theory, the money that the developers pay into that bank could be used to put a conservation easement on farmland or other areas.
Totally separate from their project at some future time.
Correct.
Yes.
It will be for the town to purchase development rights.
It's like a
Well-
mitigation program, almost.
I liked everything that you said there, concentrating all the stuff in Uptown and that all sounded good.
How many stories can go up in Uptown now?
I can't remember. I want to say 3. It might be a little higher. I can't remember. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's pretty good.
So
higher than it
you
was.
think it's, I mean, I think it might be worthwhile to continue to pursue that a bit more too. Maybe get some of Doug's input on that again. Because
Yeah.
that could help with what we're talking about. Are you able to send that out to us to read over also?
Sure.
I think that would be helpful.
Send the old TDR report.
Yep.
There was also some discussion in the notes that I read that talked about some type of, tax or something like that to help collect funds to go ahead and pay for purchasing of development rights to protect farmland. So there are probably other funding vehicles available that might be better suited than a TDR program. TDR, you're kind of focused on getting money out of the developer. Which I don't have a problem with, but it might be easier to go ahead and collect funds for, that type of program from other methods,
With
right?
the TDR, the town, so like the PDR, the state regulates who gets selected or how that's spent. TDR, the town can come up with whatever it wants to, correct?
Yes.
So
would be
it
Our
could actually be.
internal program.
It could actually be targeted to land that's more at risk, like say a retired person that has some land and they want to sell it. So they might choose to sell it for development because they could get more money for it. Where with a TDR, they might decide to sell it as farmland because they can get some extra income from the TDR.
Right. Yeah. You're not at the mercy of the state anymore.
Yeah.
Your own program, the town, gets to decide which ones are valuable.
I kind of like that idea, to investigate
Yeah.
that a little more. I'm sure it would take a lot to tweak it and get it actually passed and everything, but
Yeah, for sure. But I
might be
think you
worth it.
guys, you're having the right conversations. We're getting closer.
All right, well, I don't want to keep anybody too long tonight, so any more discussion on that?
No, I think that we have some reading to do.
Yeah, so in my notes, I have that I'm gonna send you guys a link so that you can see what our current conservation subdivision code says. I'm gonna send you the old TDR report. And I'm gonna see if Doug can come to your February meeting to kind of have another conversation about all of this. See if we can take it anywhere else.
Very good.
Yep.
All right,
Sounds good.
well, thank you, everyone. Stay warm this weekend.
How do you do that? Stay inside.
I
Pray
won't
for
be
snow, pray for snow. We need it for the water table.
Yeah,
And for
okay,
I don't mind the snow. I'm just not looking forward to this negative and single digit decrease.
Yep, I hear you.
I agree.
okay,
All right. Well, thank you. Have a
thank
good night.
you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks, guys.
Bye.